I'm going to call Andrei Baragan from Teads Studio, ex-Brainient, and Stephen McGrath, who's a journalist at Forbes, who is going to pick his brain on some very interesting matters. So looking forward to hearing you guys share your stories.
Hello. Testing. First of all, Andrei, can you introduce yourself and the company?
Yeah. So my name is Andrei Baragan. I was CTO of Brainient, which is a video, like interactive video advertising solution. We've been acquired 2 months ago by Teads, which is I think it's the largest video ad network in the world right now. And we continue to function as a kind of independent business unit within Teads called Teads Studio. So basically offering the same product that we've always have to Teads as well as other clients.
In terms of growth, I suppose you could say that's quite a big change for yourself. What was the crucial point for you and Brainient in getting noticed for the acquisition?
I wouldn't say that there was like one single event that triggered it. I'd say it's a bunch of events. First, we've been in the market for like 7 years, so we've always been there. Teads was one of our clients, so they were both like a direct client. So the Teads employees would use the Brainient software. As well as we've had other Brainient clients that would broadcast their Brainient built commercials on Teads. So I'd say they knew us pretty well. And at some point, like 1 year ago, we've kind of started discussions with a bunch of companies. And at that point in time, we've also launched an updated version of the product, which we feel was far superior. So I think it was a bunch of facts that kind of came together. And I think also for Teads, this was the right moment, and we were like a missing puzzle in their whole sort of story that they want to build.
As a product itself, I mean, what was the most effective way you found to market Brainient?
Considering it's advertising, we've always marketed the results. So we've had studies about how using the product improves given or a bunch of advertising metrics, or like brand recall or dwell time, like time spent by the user watching the commercials, click rate and engagement rate. So it's always interactive video or rich media was always outperforming traditional advertising. So I think that was always how we've sold it.
I see. Obviously, your team is Brainient. You're split across London and Romania. How do you, in this context, in terms of recruiting talent, do you have any opinions on the topical Brexit?
No, I don't think we have. I have an opinion on Brexit. I don't think most people will or know what's going to happen. But in terms of the way Brainient was structured, it was always different departments. So we've always had R&D in Romania, and we've had like marketing and sales in London. So it's not like a cross department. So we're not kind of necessarily worried about that, because each department in every geographic region can function independently of the other one. So not too concerned about that.
Sure. How do you go about developing talent?
In the last couple of years, we've had a strategy of just hiring more junior people and trying to grow them instead of hiring more senior folks, and that worked out pretty well because. Yeah, it just worked out pretty well because you can teach them and you can show them the culture from when they start. So it's not necessarily they have this background which is already embedded within them. So I think that's our strategy going forward. So we have a bunch of senior or like top guys, and then we try to hire some more young people.
One of the things I'm particularly interested in is the cultural changes that Teads, obviously a much bigger company. What cultural changes are they bringing to Brainient?
I'd say two, or like I was impressed with two of them so far. So one is that Teads tracks everything. So they have dashboards for everything, like from sales people, how much they've sold every day, in which offices, to the product side, what's the completion rate. So they track everything. So, and they basically run their business on that. So I think that's an important cultural change. So we're trying to have the same sort of approach to our company, or like to the Teads Studio platform as well. So we're trying to push out metrics and try to follow as much as we can. So that was something that impressed me. And secondly, it's very important, or they prize a lot communication within the company, and they use Facebook for work a lot. So so this way they kind of manage to keep everyone connected, and each individual is encouraged to share their successes or to share their experiences, or ask for help using Facebook at work. So I think that's an important tool for the company.
When you say they track everything much more thoroughly with the staff and performance, do you find that brings a sort of positive pressure to the staff, the team?
Especially like Teads is a big department within Teads is sales, so they have like 200 salespeople. So I think that for sales, yes, it does bring a very positive competition between them, because they know every day. And they can brag about it, like I've sold, I don't know, 500K or whatnot. So I think they like being the top leaders and knowing every day that they're on top of the chart. So
the competitive element.
Yeah, and especially for sales, I think that's a lot more important. For tech, it's not as easy to do, so we don't sort of count the number of lines of code that someone writes or something similar. But we track the product KPIs. So how many new creatives have been created today, or how many live creatives do we have today comparing to the last month, or sort of similar things like that.
I read in a blog on Brainient site something written by your partner, Emmy Gall, something about dealing with overnight success.
About who, sorry?
It was written by Emmy, partner of Brainient and the co-founders. Something about dealing with overnight success. How do you stay motivated after the acquisition?
I think it's a lot more motivating right now, because we have the potential to have our software product used by hundreds of people within the organization, and we have the potential to sort of the output of the software that we build, the actual video commercials. So we can reach, like Teads reaches at least 1 billion users. So it's a lot more, there's a lot more users who can actually see the output of the product. So I think from that perspective, it's even more exciting now than it was before. Like before, we had a good product, but a good product needs users. So I think it's nicer now.
How prepared were you personally for the exit, and what have you learned from the exit?
I think, like within the management group, we knew that we were heading towards an exit, but I've never gave it too much thought. It was always Amy, the CEO, who kind of handled this matter. So I didn't think all that much about the exit. What I've learned from it is that it takes a very, very, very long while to do. I've learned that you could always negotiate, so there's always room to negotiate, and that you should always pay a lot of attention to all the details and the devil's in the details, basically.
What is the biggest risk to the company and to sort of ad tech as a product?
Brainient before the acquisition, you mean?
Currently,
I'd say the risk isn't that much. I think, like, to get an idea, Teads competes with Facebook and Google in terms of video advertising distribution. one risk would be if Google would enter the outstream market. Like outstream is kind of the placement where Teads run their commercial. So if Google were to actually enter this market, that would be a big risk, I think, because they have a lot more money than Teads would have.
Do you feel that you exited at the right time? Are there any moments where you think maybe you should have held off for a little while longer? Or?
I think it was the right time. I think we were, and the right time because it also was like the right deal for us. So we're like this perfect fit within Teads for the product. So and thinking about it, ad tech isn't very popular right now. So I think a lot of companies are actually going down the drain. So I think it was good for us, and I think we were lucky to find a good home like Teads, I think.
I was going to ask as well about when obviously you got staff in London and in Romania. How often do the staff ever get together to try and bring a kind of team?
Yeah, we had one event every year. So we flew everyone from London. We flew them to Romania, and we spent like 3 or 4 days in the mountains. And that happened in January usually. So yeah. But now we're going to Thailand apparently, so we're not going to go to, yeah.
All of you?
Yeah, all of Teads, like 500 people would go to Thailand, like in January, so yeah.
Sounds like a nice event.
Yeah.
In terms of what you've learned from the exit and the build-up to the exit, pretty obvious question. What advice would you give to other young startups who are heading the same way?
I don't know. So I think one important one is it's not necessarily about having the best product. It's also important to be able to sell that product and find clients who are willing to pay for it. So no matter how good the product is, it's only as good as the salespeople that are selling it. Especially for a business to business product, I think it's more important how you present the product and how you sell it. So all the marketing and all that stuff. Sometimes I think it's more important than the software itself. So that's a good advice, I think.
Obviously, there's you and Emmy, who are the main guys of Brainient. Do you feel that you worked well together? I mean, obviously, you were focusing on the product side of things, and he's focusing on the sort of development, and he was obviously handling the marketing as well. Do you think it was a good working relationship?
Yeah, I think we worked good together. I think we respect the knowledge of the other person, so we kind of try to not step over their toes. So I think it's important that each founder does what he's good at and sort of trusts the other founder to do the right thing. So I think, yeah, we work good together, even though at times it's not necessarily a good relationship.
So, yeah, I was going to ask, are there any questions from the audience that I think would be anything anybody wants to ask?
We were too fast.
Sorry?
We were too fast.
Yeah, possibly. Okay, so let me just go through these.
I have a question, if I may. Given that you've exited to another company, how will the company culture be impacted by this? Because you talked about its importance. Of course, we all know that culture can make or break a startup or any company at any size. So what are you doing to kind of integrate the cultures, or acting independently? Does it give you enough independence to continue building the culture as you have done so far? Thanks.
No. Yeah. So I think I look at the good things that Teads has, and like to tracking everything, or like communicating to like paying a lot of importance of how you communicate. So we look at those things and try to sort of share them with our team, and then from like my team in Bucharest, we're not directly impacted because we're the only office in Teads, so we're not related to kind of the other offices, which, for example, my colleagues in London or in France, they started working in the Teads offices, but for the Bucharest office, I think it's different. So I think it's going to be slower for the Teads culture to actually get here, but we try to look at all the good things that they have and try to slowly implement them in our teams as well.
Okay, so what going forward now? I mean, you seem as though the Romanian team, have they been less affected than the London team by this? As you just said, some of them have.
Yeah, I don't. From their perspective, there's not such a big change, just because they're kind of geographically isolated. So we're doing the same things, we're working on the same stuff. So it's not been a huge impact yet, I think.
Okay. And will you be recruiting more Romanian developers as part of this acquisition?
Yeah, there's like a business plan put together, so we're actively recruiting and we're actively trying to hire more people. As now there's a lot more users and clients of the product, so we need a lot more developers as well.
I see. So will you be handling the recruitment for that?
Yeah. So nothing's changed. So it's me, it's Amy as well, because like Amy sort of has interviews with every employee, like every potential employee, and I do that, and I have my colleague Stefan, which is the VP of engineering, so he does that as well. So yeah, it's still business as usual, I'd say. Not a lot of things have changed on this front.
Okay. Well, I think that's it, isn't it?
I don't know.
Is that it? Have we? Is there any?
I have another question, actually. Given this process, this exit process, which I think to the most people involved in the startup world seems rather glamorous, you said it took longer than usual. Could you name a few of the challenges you ran across, maybe in legal terms or something else to that respect, to the specifics that would maybe help people get a clearer, more accurate picture of what goes on in this process?
Yeah, so I can try and describe the process. Or let's assume you start talking to a bunch of companies and some of them are interested, and then you start the process. And in the process, there's what they call, what's it called? I forgot. So it's called due diligence. So due diligence happens on a bunch of fronts. So legal, tech, finance, and all that stuff. Usually tech doesn't take all that long for the people that are worried. So tech, especially if you're kind of like a small company as Brainient was, we didn't spend a lot of time in tech due diligence, but they do spend a lot of time in finance as well as legal. And once you have the due diligence done, and assuming you manage to negotiate, which takes like a month on its own just to negotiate the deal, and then you start actually putting the deal on paper, and that means that the Brainient's lawyers and Teads lawyers get together, and that process, that at least takes like 6 weeks to do so. So I think it takes at least 6 months to do a deal, I think. And there's a lot of stuff going on, especially lawyers. I think they kind of drag around. So.
Thanks for sharing that. I think we all find it useful. One more thing I wanted to ask is, did you tell your team members, your employees, about the exit before it happened? Did they know what to expect? How does a founder handle this aspect?
So the way we've done it is that we've told the employees that we're speaking to a bunch of strategic partners, and then to a select few which got more involved in the due diligence process. They were aware that an acquisition might be going on, but we haven't communicated to everyone, just because like if you communicate something and then the deal doesn't go through, which could happen, then you kind of end up disappointing all the employees if they look forward to it. So it's better, or not necessarily, maybe wiser to sort of put off the moment when you announce it, and then when you announce it, be sure that it's gonna happen, and sort of be sure that you have a plan for the employees, because they're gonna have questions about their continuity within the company. So you should be prepared to answer all the questions on that.
Awesome, thank you. We still have a few minutes for questions if anyone has other things they're curious about. A mic is coming to you.
Hi, I have a question about the environment in Romania compared to the one in the UK for developing a startup. Which one do you think is best? In which one would you do a startup again? In the one in Romania or in the one in the UK? Would you start a new thing in the UK because of the system, because of all the things that you find there? Or would you do it again in Romania?
Well, I'd say it's hard for us to answer that, because we've enjoyed the benefits of both Romania and the UK. So we've had our CEO in London for like the last 6 years, so he had access to investors and potential clients, and then we have the R&D done in Romania, which is good because it's cheaper, for example. So the investment that you get would last. You have a much longer runway if you do it in Romania. So I don't know. I think it's best to use each geographic region for what it's good for, I think.
So you would choose Romania for development and choose the UK for finance and the handling, or all the funds?
I think we'd probably switch the UK for the US if possible, but yeah.
Okay, thanks.
We have time for one more question.
Hi. When did you decide to create an office in the UK? Was it from the beginning your strategy or later on?
It was close to the beginning, and it was so there was this contest called Seed Camp. So Brainient sort of won Seed Camp in 2009, and then we've got some investment, and then Amy moved to London because of that. So it was by luck, I guess, or by accident.
Do you think it's important to have one of the founders or the CEO based in London, or is it possible that he's here and you have an office there?
I don't know. I think it's important. I think you cannot meet investors or you cannot sell if you're not there. I think it's important that you are there in order to get meetings and follow up on meetings. For example, we've tried to do the same thing. We've tried to sell in the US from London, and that doesn't work. So when Amy was in the US, he managed to sort of spark interest from potential clients. But then when he left the US, the interest was gone. So I think you need to be on premise in that location.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, I think that is a wrap.
Just a second.
Oh, sorry.
I have another question. If you were to go towards the US, would you still keep the R&D in Romania, or would you move everything there because of the culture and the way the US is supporting startups?
No, I think Romania is perfect for R&D. I don't think we'd move. I think there's a lot of talent, and yeah, I'd say it's perfect. So I don't see why we'd move. And especially as a startup, it's kind of prohibitive to hire developers in the US because of the cost. So I don't think it makes sense from an economic perspective as well.
Okay, thanks.
I'll ask another one if you, Andrew. Sort of on the back of what the guy just said there, the innovation. Do you find personally that there's more innovation? You know, you said that the R&D in Romania is good and there's lots of talent. There's this thing talked about the kind of innovation side of Romanian startup scene. Do you find that there's much more innovation in London and you can benefit from that? with the
Yes. There's definitely more innovation or more ideas coming from the US or coming from London, because they live in those markets. So the markets are more advanced, like the publisher market or the advertising market. So they're more advanced than what you'd see in Romania. So from that perspective, I think it's easier to have better or more ideas or better ideas if you live there, just because you see a lot more things than what you'd see here. But strictly from an R&D and product perspective, I think you can do just fine with sticking into Romania.
Do you have many Romanian clients?
Not anymore. We did have a couple, but not anymore. It's because the advertising market doesn't support the Brainient margin, so that's why I think.